Hey friends, I've been working on a video about election resources that I hope to have out within the next week or so. And as I was doing it, I came across this unit from Mint and Bloom Learning. I've never heard of them before, but I think this was pretty well done, and I wanted to share it in a separate video because I wanted to give more detail than what I can do in the other video. So I'm going to flip inside here and we're going to take a look, and I'll point out some things that I like about it, what I don't like about it, etc. Okay. I also have a video coming up on books that you can use to study about the election, the government, Constitution, all of that. Critical thinking. So be on the lookout for that one as well. Now, something that's different about this unit compared to a lot of units you'll find is that each lesson is sold individually. And I really like that because you can pick and choose what you want. And also you can try out one lesson from a company to see if you really are going to like it or not. Each lesson is also just 99 cents, which is a great price. There are 6 lessons, but they're coming out one a month. So right now there's only 4 out, and then there'll be another one in October, and then, as I understand it, in November. That one's going to be cutting it close, so I don't know if it's going to be focused on what happens after the election, because if that comes out on the 1st and the election's the 5th, that's not a whole lot of time. So I'm interested to see what that one's going to be. Now, lesson 1 is about the presidency, or the focus is about the presidency. But as you'll see, they cover several topics in each one. Part 2 is the parties and the conventions. Part 3 is voting and vice presidents. And then 4 is polls and debates. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to go through every page in here in each of these lessons, but I did want to show you a variety of things in it so that you can see what they're actually offering you. Now, in each lesson, they have books divided by grade. These books are the same throughout, so you don't have to buy or check out different books each lesson. So if you have elementary kids, and I should point out, this is meant to be used with a variety of grade levels if that's what you have in your home. I would say, though, we're not talking like lower elementary. I would, maybe 4th grade and up is where I would put it. But for elementary, they suggest the books The Next President, The Unexpected Beginnings and Unwritten Future of America's Presidents, and Ken Jennings Jr. Genius Guides. For middle grades, Fault in the Lines Constitution. And then for secondary, the book is Votes of Confidence. Okay. Then we have our videos, and I love that they include the time length. What I wish, though, is that they had a QR code that would take me to a playlist with all the videos. That's something I've done in my Pop Culture Christmas unit. And I just find it really helpful because sometimes I do like to print things out. I'm still old school enough for that, and having a QR code would be helpful. Anyway, you've got your YouTube links and then a starting discussion question. These, we've only done the one lesson, and minus the reading and the videos, it took us about an hour to get through it. We also had a bunch of side trails and deeper discussions. So that hour is just the content of the lesson. We are a rabbit trail kind of house. Okay, so in lesson 1, again, this was about the presidency. They start off about eligibility, who can do it. One of the things I like about this unit is that they really encourage some critical thinking. and often in a fun way. So for example, on this one, you're going to take a 6-sided die, which is, I think, the only supply I've seen outside of books that you need for these units. and then you'll roll it 5 times to come up with a possible candidate. Your student's supposed to draw it, and then talk about whether that person would be eligible or not. So would someone from Alberta be eligible? This kind of thing. Can you be 10 years old and be eligible? So again, quick, fun-ish, and easy. So they talk about what the job is in the Constitution, what's laid out for them, who the candidates this year are, and they do keep it fairly current because I'll show you later that they talk about both Trump's assassination attempt in July and Tim Walz's nomination. So I like that these are being done kind of in real time so they can keep up to date on all the changes. They do a little paragraph about each candidate. Oh, right, here's the assassinations. So they talk about Trump's and they talk about other assassination attempts in history. And then that's one unit. So you can see that they're not very long, but they cover a nice variety. Now in part 2, parties and the conventions, again, they have the same books. Just one video on this one. For the main parties, Democratic, Green, Libertarian, Republican. There are additional links throughout it as well, not just to the YouTube videos. Kids are supposed to make up their own political party. So more about the conventions. Talk about the history of and why you'll see people at the convention wearing crazy hats. Part 3 is voting in the vice presidents. Again, with all the videos. Now, this part is one part that I'm going to skip over because I don't love the way their bias shows. Now, there are plenty of units out there, and you'll see them that have a bias that go to the opposite or to the other end of the political spectrum. That itself is not a problem to me. It's the fact that they don't say it, either this company or the other one or other ones, that bothers me. Because I think it's important that we put out our biases if we're going to let it show in our curriculum. I think that they did not pick and choose quotes well enough. And that really bothers me. So we will be skipping this part. I also don't love that it just kind of picks up on I don't mean meme culture exactly, but just like topics that are the ones that we cycle through. They're the ones that we get caught up on them in social media, but they're not core topics. So I'll be putting together my own section on the vice presidents. My kids are pretty politically engaged and news savvy already, so they don't really need me to put in more, but I will. Otherwise, I've been pleased with it being pretty neutral, but that section bothered me. None of the topics I found to go too in depth, so we will definitely be adding things to this. And while secondary books are included, I would say this is, if I were labeling this, I would say it's like grades 4 to 8, 4 to 9, maybe up into high school more if you have a kiddo who doesn't have a lot of that knowledge, or you just want to review, but it's not in depth to me. So if I were doing it with high school kids, we would add a lot to this. Well, I am doing it with high school kids, and we are adding other stuff to it. This is just part of what we're doing. Lesson 4, polls and debates. This one really gets me excited because these are two of my favorite topics with every election season. It starts off talking about public polls and how that works in crafting them to be neutral in language. I've got the electoral map. In 2012, Elizabeth was really into that election. She liked Mitt Romney's name for some reason. Like that was, she was really into it because of that. And the next day after the election, I didn't tell her who won. And instead, for math, I had her color all the states, and then I had to tally it up to figure out who won. I think about that every time I see an electoral map. I like the topic on swing states. That's a big topic here, especially in North Carolina, where we are inundated with ads right now. Now, this one I thought was interesting. I had never heard of this, but there was a lady in the 1946 Richard Nixon Senate campaign, or House campaign, who apparently created what would become the first push poll. And so they did a video recreation of it. But what I liked was that they do the video, and the video is not long, it's like 2 minutes. Then they break down what was said and how those are like propaganda comments. I just thought that was interesting to see it broken down like that, because I think that's one of those really important things that we, adults too, I'm not saying this just about kids, we don't always pick up on the language being used to target us and how that actually influences what they're saying and how we receive it. So I like that they did this. This is an activity that I have had my kids do in the past. And so I really like that they included it, because you take a fact and then have them rewrite it so that it sounds good or so it sounds bad. Because one of my key points when I am teaching my kids about things like the elections is to understand why people think the way they do. And the way we word things can be a reflection of that. So that they included this, I like it. Again, with rolling the die, they talk about RFK and about his bear story, so they do have a little warning there. Okay, so that's the end of Unit 4. I'm really looking forward to this. Like I said, the company's name is Mint and Bloom. 99 cents for one of these. You can try it out easily and inexpensively. If you found any great resources for teaching the elections, I would love for you to leave it down below. And I will see you in the next video.